Hello besties and welcome back. So this is going to be such a fun video. We are going to be giving you guys some fall book recommendations and we're going to be talking about my personal fall TBR. So just some books I want to read in the fall season. These are just books that I thought would be good to read in the fall season and fit the vibe. We have a ton of fantasy in here. We have it all. Buckle up, get ready, grab a snack. This book has recently kind of blown up. We have Powerless by Lauren Roberts. This is actually my most recent read. I ended up giving it like 4-ish stars. Something about it I just didn't click with, but I have seen so many people absolutely raving about this book, so I feel like it could be a favorite for some of you guys. Basically, it is set in this fantasy world where there are the elites, which are the people who have powers. Everyone kind of has like a different power, like there's a ton of different ones, and then there are ordinaries who don't have any powers, who were supposed to be banished. Our main girl Peyton, she is an ordinary and no one knows because obviously they're supposed to be banned, but she gets the chance to compete in this Hunger Games-esque trial. She has to fake that she is an elite this whole time. One thing, the trial is very reminiscent of the Hunger Games. Like, there is a lot of things that are very similar, and low-key, you didn't get a lot of the trial, which I wanted more of the trial aspect. It was definitely romance with a side of fantasy, which I tend to prefer fantasy with a side of romance, if you get what I'm saying here. But if you're definitely like a romance person, want to get into fantasy, I recommend this one. And it's perfect for the fall time, all the fantasy cozy vibes. Okay, next in the pile is Legendborn by Tracy Deonn. I read this probably almost a year ago now, so I don't remember too much, but it's kind of like dark academia, secret society-y. So our main girl, Bree, so at their school, there's this like secret society that like hunts demons, creatures, like monsters type things. So she gets involved with that, and then she's also uncovering things with her past and connecting with her past ancestors. And like the school dark vibes are perfect for the fall season. I have not read the second one yet, but I definitely want to. And there's some romance in this, there's friendships, and it's just like the perfect book because it's set at school and all that. I definitely need to pick the second one up sometime this season. And then another fantasy series that I absolutely love. I got all of these originally from the library and I listened to them and read them when I just found it at Half Price Books. I'm so glad. I freaking love this series so much, you guys. So basically our main girl, Leia, so her family is just living life, and then one day her brother gets arrested for treason, and in order to try and help him, she has to be a spy for the rebels and go into this kind of like military academy. And at that school she meets someone. This book, when you get to the rest of the series, it is insanely good. This book is so much fun and you get both POVs. I don't want to tell you too much because I went in pretty blind to this and it was so good. And it's just so interesting because you're following Leia, who is a spy in this military school, and that whole plot point is so interesting because you're just like, dude, what you're doing is so dangerous. She also learns about her family. It is so good. Please read this series. Another series I want to recommend you guys, I don't have the copies with me, but the Throne of Glass series by Sarah J Maas. Now, recommending like a massive series is a little, like, I feel bad doing it, but you guys have to read this series. I read it probably from July to September. I read it and it is so good. This story is about our main girl Selena. She is an assassin and she was sent to this like prison type thing where she was essentially a slave. A main guy, King Dorian, he comes and is like, Selena, I need you to compete in this thing for my dad the king. So Dorian basically takes her to the palace and the king makes a deal with her, like, you can get out of Endover, which is the slave place she's in, if you win this challenge. So basically you can be free if you win these like trials. She goes about the trials, all that. That's all I'm gonna tell you, but just know that when you get to the last book, it is a completely different series. Like, you go through so much, you meet so many new characters, so much character development, and just read it. So I read Assassin's Blade first, and that might have been the best decision I've ever made in my life. So that is how I would recommend reading it, as I did Assassin's Blade, then Throne of Glass, then Crown of Midnight, then Heir of Fire, and then Queen of Shadows, and then I tandem read Empire of Storms and Tower of Dawn. That was also a great decision. And then I went into Kingdom of Ash. We'll give you guys a romance to switch it up. So we have Ghosted by J.M. Darhower. I read this, I think, around Christmas time last year, but that is when I got it. It's like I couldn't have read it sooner. But I think it works for the fall vibes. I mean, the cover is giving spooky season a bit. Our main girl is a single mom. She works at a grocery store, and then kind of second chancey, she's a single mother, and the father of her child is like the most famous actor ever. He's like a superhero, all that, and he is trying to get back into their lives. So you kind of get the past of what happened between them, and then them trying to reconnect and what just happened, and it is so good. It is so cute. And then our main girl kept a diary, so that's kind of how you get the past timelines, is from that diary, and it is so good. And even though it's about like some super famous actor, it feels realistic, so I love that because it wasn't like super about celebrities and all that. It was like realistic, like she was just a normal person. Love that. I think I gave it like 4 stars ish. Okay, and then we'll hit you guys with some YA mystery. So I know you can probably already guess what I'm gonna be talking about because everyone and their mother is reading this series, but we have The Naturals by Jennifer Lynn Barnes, and this is literally like fall in a book. Like, this is such a good series to read in the fall season because it is so quick and fast paced. The chapters are so short and it is just so fun, and there's so much mystery going on. So basically you were following, I think it's 5 people, and they each have special abilities that the FBI picks them for. So they are working for the FBI because they have these abilities. So one is a lie detector, one can read emotions, there's profilers, there's like someone who's good with statistics. So the FBI picks them to work on cold cases, and you're following them through these cold cases, and there's like a found family aspect because they all live together, and it's just so fun. And there's so many twists and turns. Oh, I gave The Naturals like 4.25. Also by Jennifer Lynn Barnes, we have Little White Lies. This is one of her like not as popular series. It is following Sawyer, who is like just a normal girl, you know, and her grandma comes to her one day and is like, yo, I will give you a big chunk of money to become a deb and come live with me. Sawyer goes to live with her and becomes a debutante, and there's lots of secrets, lots of rich people drama, and Sawyer learns more about her past and gets tangled up in some stuff, and it is so fun and interesting. I gave this like a 3.5 star. I actually read this in my Reading Underhyped Books for a week, so if you want to know my real thoughts and like full opinions about this book, go watch that. Okay, and then this book, I read this probably almost 2 years ago, so I don't really remember it that well, but I remember absolutely loving it. We have Watching You by Lisa Jewell. Okay, I literally do not remember what this is about, but all I remember is it's set in this like rich neighborhood. There's like murder mystery, there's relationship drama. I just remember the end shocked me and I could not stop thinking about it. I just remember this book being incredible. I really want to reread it because I don't even remember what happened, but I definitely recommend this, and the cover just gives like fall vibes, so I think this is the perfect time to read it because it's like a mystery, scary thriller book. I'm sorry I can't tell you more of what it's about. I literally do not remember at all. Okay, and then we have Billy Summers by Stephen King. Now, this book was so good. This book is about Billy Summers, who is a hitman, and he is hired for this like massive job, like so much money, and he has to pose as this author and work in this like building. So you get him actually trying to write, so you get his life story through that, and then you also get his life as a hitman, and you get him forming relationships with other people. It was like a 6-star read for me. It was so good. Please read this book. And then we have What Happens After Midnight by K.L. Walther. I gave this book a 3 stars. I didn't necessarily love it, but I feel like it fits the fall vibes. It is set at this like boarding school. So every year at this school there is someone called the Jester who does the senior prank. Our main girl gets tasked with helping the Jester make this prank. So you follow them along, leaving clues and just doing this like scavenger hunt prank sort of thing. And it's super fun, and you get like the character relationships, and there is romance in this. It is kind of second chancey. It's fun. It's set at like a school, so you got that like fall educational setting whatever. This book was good. It just wasn't a favorite of mine, but I feel like it's a good palate cleanser. You guys, I feel bad like recommending these like super popular books, but like they're so good. So we have Divine Rivals by Rebecca Ross. I got the UK cover because I love it so much, but this is what the US one looks like. Love them. They look so good together. But this was definitely one of my favorite books of the year, and I feel like it fits the fall vibe perfectly. So our main girl Iris and our main guy Rowan. I always get it confused because I feel like I've read so many books where there's Rowans and there's Romans, so I don't know which one it is. But Roman and Iris, they both work at this like publishing company type thing where they write and they're fighting for the same promotion. They're definitely rivals at work, and then at home they each have these like magical typewriters that let them send letters just magically, so they don't know that they're sending letters to each other. Iris thinks she's sending them to her brother at first, and then she just doesn't know who's responding to her. So they're sending letters back and forth without really knowing it's each other. And so much happens in this book. I was not expecting it to go the way it went, but it was so fun. Please read this. It does end on a cliffhanger, and the next one doesn't come out till December, so you might want to wait a bit to read it. And then we have the Kiss of Deception trilogy by Mary E. Pearson. So this technically goes before the Dance of Thieves duology. So originally I read Dance of Thieves first, and then I was kind of confused and didn't really love the story. Months later I started with this, I read this trilogy, and then I read Dance of Thieves again, and I feel like I just appreciated it so much more. So this story is about our main girl, and she is set to marry this prince, I think it is, from another kingdom, and she does not want to do that, so she bolts out of there, out of her wedding. She stumbles on this small town knowing that people are looking for her. There are two guys sent after her. There is a prince looking for her and an assassin looking for her. You get both of their POVs as well, but they're just titled as prince and assassin, and you don't know who's who. They introduce themselves to her with names, but you don't know who's who. So while you're going through this story of her running away from home, trying to hide, you're also trying to figure out which guy is the assassin and which guy is the prince. And low-key, they kind of got me. Like, I was thinking it was the other way around. So that whole thing was so fun to try and piece together. One thing with this whole series is there are a lot of pages spent on horses traveling, but most of the time they were on horses, which it was still interesting because there's kind of like a found family eventually. I just loved the characters in this series so much, so like them being on horses for like a big chunk of the book didn't really bother me, but this series was so fun and it gets so good. Please read it. And then another book is Bewitched by Lauren Thalassa. So this is going to be a series. It kind of ended on a little bit of cliffhanger. So it's set in this like magical world where they're at a school, and our main girl is a witch. So this academy is for young witches. So she goes on this trip to somewhere, and she accidentally awakens this like supernatural force. He kind of comes after her. So you're dealing with her with that. So the guy who she awakens this like force, he thinks that she is his dead wife or something like that. So he's like obsessed with her a little bit and is trying to see if she's really his wife, and she's like, dude, I don't know you. So you're getting that, and it is a fantasy book. There is also murders happening on this campus, and she kind of gets blamed for them. So it's super interesting. Definitely not one of my favorite books ever, a solid like 3.75 book. It was super interesting though. And then Six of Crows. This is seriously one of the best books I've ever read. So good, such good found family. You are following this group of characters who comes from many different pasts, and they just all have different things about them that help with this goal they're doing. So they basically get hired to help with this heist that is worth a ton of money. That's all I'm going to tell you. It's like this super dangerous heist. It is so fun. You love the characters so much. There's so much found family. Please read this book if you haven't already. And it's on Netflix. And then the last book I'm going to be recommending is Nevernight by Jay Kristoff. This is a fantasy trilogy. Our main girl, Mia, so she is on her way to this school for assassins. So you get the school setting, the assassins, the danger, the fighting, the like kind of trials they go through to prove themselves as an assassin. There's mystery aspects, there's twists and turns. The end of this book is absolutely insane. This is definitely a 5-star book. Basically, Mia has to survive these like kind of trials that, and just like different classes kind of that she has to go through in order to be a assassin. It is so good. Please read this. And now we're going to quickly go through some of the books that I want to read in the fall months. I finally want to get to A Good Girl's Guide to Murder. I've just been loving YA mysteries, so I think this book would be so fun and perfect to read this time of year. I'm currently reading this book, but it's a 7-year slip. This cover literally just gives fall. So it's basically about this girl who moves into her aunt's apartment. When she gets there, the apartment is set 7 years in the past, and there is a guy there. So it's kind of like this time jump romance because they're in different time periods technically. So I'm not super into it yet, and I don't want to know much more than that. And then I talked about the debutante series earlier. I want to finish it. This is a sequel. I don't want to know anything about this. And I also want to finish the Natural series. Again, don't want to know anything about this, going in blind. And then something about this book has just been calling out to me lately. Love Hypothesis wasn't my favorite, but it was good. But I've heard people raving about this book. I think it's fake dating. I totally could have made that up. But anyway, I've heard amazing things about this one, and I cannot wait to read it. Same with The Prison Healer. I want to read this so bad. So it's about this girl who is the prison healer. The queen comes in and is like sick or something or injured, and the queen asks our main girl to take her place in this trial that's happening. So our main girl has to compete in these trials, and I'm so excited to read this. And then we have Assistant to the Villain. I don't really know what this is about other than the villain needs an assistant. That's it. And then I picked this up at Barnes because I wanted some spooky books. I've seen Destiny pick this up. We have My Roommate is a Vampire. I'm assuming she moves into a new apartment and the roommate is a vampire. It looks cute in like a short book. And then we have Belladonna. This book is gorgeous. I don't really know much about this, but I cannot wait to read it. This cover just gives fall. Masters of Death by Olive Blake. I don't really know what this is about, but all I know is this book is literally gorgeous. I love when books just have like graphics in them. Thank you guys so much for watching. Hopefully you got at least one new book recommendation. If you've read any of the books on my TBR, let me know if you liked them, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.